Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. So we already did Normal Battle 1 and Normal Battle 2 yesterday. Now we're going to take on Normal Battle 3, the final Normal Battle. Wants you to use a water team, which again, water, earth, and fire are the three weakest elements in the game. So your options for water are really not that great. So if we look at the stage, it's one enemy. It's the Armorsaurus. He's pretty tanky. He's got quite a bit of HP. He's got defense and guard power. He poisons you, so if you're trying to go for max score, you cannot take poison damage. You can only take 1 damage on a hit, so you got to play around that, whether you use Gapta or Guy. And you got to do 1.4 million damage. But you can go up to turn 5 for max turn bonus. But the difference is that if you go to turn 5 and you still only take 1 hit every single turn, you're still not going to get max score because you're going to take like -1, which is ridiculous. So there is, I wouldn't say it's a disadvantage, but there's a downside to trying to go to turn 5. So you still want to kill it within like 3 or 4 turns. That way you don't get that -1. But that's only if you're trying to sweat. The starting hand is 2 greens and 4 oranges, so it wants you to use the Wielder of Magic team with Shinsha and Ranga. We can do that. We will do that. But disclaimers, starting off, this is a shorter video than normal anyways, so please just use it as a guide. Try and build a team with a water character and whatever your best supports are that makes some logical sense, and try it yourself. Disclaimer number 2 is that these are the characters used for protection gauge, and these are the units that are used for skill points. And then number 3 is don't forget to go into your town and optimize your water building, so whoever you're nuking with can do more damage. But let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so starting out, we're actually going to be using Octagram Guy for 1, his orb changing, 2, his debuffs and his weakness strikes that stacks when you have it in what's it called? Something, Lord's Ambition, there you go. And also the Lord's Ambition effect protects you from poison. So we're not bringing the 4-star Gapta because we're going to get it from Guy to begin with. We've got Isis, we've got Diablo, pretty mainstays on Jubilee teams nowadays. The old Masked Hero, again to show that you can use her instead of the new Masked Hero and still work. And then we brought Water Soe, so we can get the attack down and defense up, so we only take 1 damage when he hits us. Kind of important if you're trying to max it. And then we're going to be nuking with Water Shinsha. If you don't have Guy, you can just use the Wielder of Magic Milim, and that will 1 work for Shinsha because she's her protector, and 2, you'll get that extra damage buff, so you can do just more damage overall. So you can use Guy if you're trying to dodge poison, and if you don't want to try that and you just want damage, then just swap Guy out for Wielder of Magic Milim. But turn 1, we don't have an orb changer, so we're actually going to go for some RNG here. So we're going to swap those 2 out, bring in the hero, we're going to use the defense skill, so everyone on the front line has defense, and we're going to send the 2 greens, and we're going to pray that we can get some kind of good hand of Shinsha orbs or full oranges. Full oranges would be ideal, but it's not necessary, as you can see. So we're going to rewind, we're going to bring Diablo in, send the 4 or 5 oranges, and then pray that you can get a lot of Shinsha orbs next turn to get her EX ult, which here we do. We get 4, which is fine. So we're going to use the green buff. I'm running the ult gauge on green charm, so we're going to get 40% extra ult gauge on top of the 50% ult gauge that Diablo is doing, and this will enable us to get Shinsha's EX ult, and then we can send her away next turn with the Diablo buff, and we can hold on to that until turn 4. So there's the poison, but the Lord's Ambition saves us from actually taking damage. The poison is still there, except on Soe, who it missed, but we didn't take any damage, and that's the point. So now we can use the Diablo skills, both of them actually, because we need more green gauge, and we need to apply the Piers or the synergy because it's so expensive. We'll bring the hero up front, or we'll bring Isis up front, anyone, and then we will reuse the defense skill because Isis doesn't have the defense, and it's also run out, so we need to reapply it. And now we brought the hero in. Technically, she already has the defense buff from last turn when we swapped her out, so that's why she's good to come up front. And then we'll send all this damage. Everyone's doing extra synergy, but as you can see, he's got a lot of guard power, so we're not doing that much overall. Alright, took 1 damage still right there, and now we're going to nuke. If you went to turn 5, you would lose a couple points for damage taken, but you would still be within the max turn bonus. But let's bring Shinsha in. We've got 173 points, so Isis, Shinsha, Isis buff, and then we will use Guy to give us the element resistance down. We have the hero minus skill fuse, so that's why we waited and used her skill. If she's not, don't worry about it. But now we got guaranteed crits, and then Shinsha does 2 million damage. So she's got the EX alt buff, we got the alt resistance down, we've got the magic, we've got the crit, we've got the synergy buff. We've got a lot of buffs on Shinsha to make her do the damage cap. So there, -5 for 0 points, and then over 1.4 million, we're within 5 turns. So that is the max score team. If you went to turn 5, you would take like -8 damage, and that would be a -1 to your damage score, which is just stupid. But that's the max team. Let's move on. Alright, next up we have Fantasy Milim. World of Fantasy Milim, physical nuker, so we're not matching the magic, but we can still do enough damage. And then we've got Exalted Champion Velzard, who is going to be, again, changing to greens, just like Guy, but we're no longer getting the Lord's Ambition, so this team is not a max score team, because we're going to take the poison damage. If you're not worried about getting max score, I just wouldn't worry about the poison. Like, I straight up wouldn't. I would just try and go to within 4 to 5 turns, get the 1.4 million damage, and move on with your day. But she's going to help us do that. We're going to give element debuff to Milim. We've got the free-to-play Light Mirren as our turn 1 orb changer, because she changes 2 greens to 2 oranges. If you don't have her, you could bring someone else that does that. Diablo, again, we've got Tempsy Benimaru for the physical buff, because Milim is physical, and then we've once again got the hero for the rewind. Alright, so turn 1, we're going to orb change here. So 10% all gauge increase. We're also going to use the green buff because it's free, and Milim, for every skill that you use, gets extra crit damage, which mine is not skill fused, I don't think, so you can get even more if you wanted to, but mine's not. But we're going to use a skill because it literally costs nothing, and we're going to have points next turn anyways to deal with it. So, doing damage, we almost get her ult. With her trait, she's going to get even closer, but not quite. And now, we just need a few orbs. So we're going to rewind, we're going to green buff, we're going to use Milim's orb change because it's just more skills, which means more crit damage. Kind of important that you do spam enough skills. We're going to bring Mirren in for the hero and use her skill, not because it's useful, but because I want more crit damage on Milim. We'll use Velzard. This is also a 40% gauge increase to ults, which is why we get her EX ult right here. And then once the rewind kicks in, we can use the synergy buff and send Milim away, and we can hold on to that in the back. As far as using skills, she can go up to turn 4 before she caps out, so this is another skill usage that's going to count towards her, but we literally can't use anything else now. So we'll send her away, we'll hold on to that, we'll use Velzard again, and then change the hand back to greens one more time, send the 6 orbs. We're not doing a butt ton of damage. We're going to take poison damage here as well, not a big deal. We've already taken damage from him hitting us. So, well, okay, well, we could just dodge all the poison. That's also something if you want to try an RNG. But, turn 3, we're going to bring Milim back in for Mirren, and we're actually going to nuke. We're not even going to go to turn 4, we're just going to nuke here. So there's the physical buff, alt resistance down. We'll bring the hero in, who's going to activate crit, which means that we can use Milim's crit damage buff, because Milim needs someone to give her crit rate. The hero is going to do that. So in this event, actually, the old hero works better than the new hero, because the new hero is getting Pierce, and we'd need to bring someone else to do the crit, which we don't really have. So boom, and then we have just enough points to use Milim's buff. We'll use the Velzard buff to give us more element, and then we're up to 55% crit damage. And it could go higher, because we have one more turn, we could use skills. But we're going to send Diablo's ult just to lower him down, and then Milim's nuke does 1.4 million. So even though we're not magic, even though we're not on like turn 4, we still did enough. We took a little bit of damage there, minus 121 points, but unless you're a sweat, you really probably don't care about that. You still got max score, you still got max turn. That's good enough for most people. Alright, another physical focused team if you don't have that Milim team You could use New Year's Blessing, Shion, and Shinsha, because Shinsha is also single target. We're going to bring Milim, we're going to bring Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, and once again, the OG Masked Hero and Light Mirren for the orb change. It's going to run pretty much the same way, though. Pretty much in the same way as in, you're going to use orange orbs now. But you're still nuking with a water character. If you want to use Milim and Shion, like, that'll work. She'd give Milim the crit. You would still probably want the rewind, but I mean, that means you could bring the new hero if you have her. But that's a whole different thing. So here, again, sending the 6 oranges because we've orb changed with Mirren. Shinsha just needs an EX ult, so we need to get, a good amount of orbs for her, which we do, thankfully. The trait kicks in because we have, I think, Rain or Milim underneath her, but she has her own alt swap, so it's not really that big of a deal. So alt swap that away, that means we have 3 orbs, and then we'll use the future hand of oranges from Milim to ensure that on the rewind, there are a whole bunch of oranges and we don't have to do anything, because these oranges are not going to get us another Shion, because oranges are not good for protection gauge. But it is good for getting an EX ult very quickly, which we do. So we get 90 points back, we get 2/3 of a protection gauge, but EX ult. And now we can use the physical buff from Rimuru, which is 65% physical, and then we can send her away. And if you don't have Rimuru, you have Temp Sleep Benimaru, just do that anyways. So now we bring Mirren in. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next hand is also guaranteed to be oranges because this is a rewind. It doesn't count. Or it does count. It counts twice, technically. So boom, more oranges. And we can either nuke here, or we could send the orbs and try and build up more. But we've used all the buffs already, minus the hero buff, which we don't need because we're already getting crits from Shion. Yes, we could do the crit resistance down, but it's not a super big deal. So if you want to push an extra turn for more damage, you can. We don't hit damage cap here, just a heads up. We don't. So if you do want to push, then you can. But we use Milim and Shinsha's buff, and then we're going to send Milim's ult first. This is kind of a dangerous play, but thankfully I didn't kill it. And then Shinsha comes in, and she does 734. So not the 1.4 million damage cap, but it's still a semi-decent score for someone who doesn't care too much. But that's the Shinsha team, and I actually have one more team to show you. Alright, so in case you need to scrape the bottom of the barrel, you can just use a stacking Water Milim team with Hinata. So, Milim, Mirren again for the orb change, free-to-play Rimuru, Shion, Shuna, Hinata. Magic single target, not an EX character, not very powerful buffs, not a very strong protector, but it's an old water team and it's magic. So it works for people if you have access to these old characters, and that's the best you got. Alright, so turn 1, again, we brought Mirren for the orb change. The charm we're using on Milim is actually the water attack, just to try and give Hinata that extra little boost, because we're not stacking for full 8 turns. I'm not worried about getting like 1 extra Milim out of the 20% gauge, even if we don't get that, which we're probably not going to really benefit anyways. But we need to get an ult for her, and then we need to send her away, which this sending 6 oranges was really good, because Hinata's not an EX character. She doesn't need a double gauge. We also didn't bring the hero, because we don't need to rewind and save buffs and send them away, because we don't need an EX ult. So orb change, that's pretty much your biggest RNG for this team is turn 2, trying to get a full hand of blues going, and then we'll use 1 stack of Milim, and then the water attack will just help us do more damage on this specific turn. But this is going to get us the Hinata ult and 117 points, which means that next turn we can use the Hinata buff, which is the attack and crit damage, and then send her to the back until we're ready. Hinata gets poisoned, unfortunate, whatever. If you're using this team, max points isn't your thing. But another Milim stack for Hinata, and then we'll use her attack buff. And then we have more good RNG, because we can use the 2 orb changes and still get a 5-hand of blues plus the Shion ult, which technically, if you wanted to, you could have sent Shion away and you could have gotten 6 blues, if that was your deal. But I just wanted to send this and get it out of here. This is also going to get us not a Lumi, but a Shuna ult next turn, which we can send, or get rid of, or do what you want. We're going to go to turn 5, so we're going to send it. And again, we get good RNG to where we can orb change twice, and we still have enough points. So I do want to get this stack, though, for Hinata, so we're going to bring her in, use the stack, and then send her away. And then we'll bring Water Rimuru in, and he'll be on the front line, because next turn we're nuking anyways. So as long as you can orb change his hand, it's looking pretty good. So 1, 2. This team is not very expensive. You need 165 points on the nuke turn. what, 190 if you want to use Hinata's other skill, which is like permanent ult damage. You don't have to though. I don't because I don't have enough points for it, but it is something you can attempt to use if you have points. But Hinata comes in for Rimuru. You use all 3 buffs, so ult, magic, crit, or whatever those 2 buffs for Xion are, and then 1 more stack of Milim, just to get that extra little 10% water attack, plus the charm's 10% water attack, and then we'll just send the nuke. And she does 389 magical damage. Congratulations. So, low cost team, low tier team, but if it's what you got, it's what you got. We did 500k damage. Still in 5 turns though, so you see, you still get the max turn bonus. But that's going to do it for Normal Battle 3. Please, if you have other teams you found that work or variations, put it in the comments below so other people can see it and make my life easier. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.